What's up, PlayStation Universe? And welcome to PlayStation Fix. We're on episode 49, and joining me this week, as always, is senior editor Kyle Prawl.
Hey, sir. Good to be here.
I should say my name is Will Robinson. I can't remember if I said that or not already, but
Well, thanks for the deference, though. You threw me in there first. You gave me that
yeah.
kind of opening honor.
All right, yeah. Well, we can switch it up every once in a while. Yeah, we've been on a little hiatus for a while, partly due to the holidays and all the craziness that went on in there.
Yep,
Uh,
we've been playing too much Witcher adventure game. Haven't had time to
yes,
record anything.
that was an amazing purchase that
Well,
I had.
it was amazing for me,
It
right?
was
I played
amazing,
Triss
ha, because you were playing as Triss Miracle. But yeah, if you guys like The Witcher and you like board games, go out and buy the Witcher adventure game. It's
So much fun.
amazing. It takes forever to play, but it's amazing.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's crazy, isn't it? How we played it like 2.5
yeah,
hours,
we
not knowing the rules,
yeah
and
we
we
played
ended
it
up.
wrong where we were playing it four times faster, and it still took us like 2 hours. Um, but yeah, I played that a bunch of times during the holidays, and it was a lot of fun.
Kind
Um,
of fitting for the game, right? Too, how big the game is. That the
yeah,
board
it
game
was
would be
perfect. Yeah, in a
such
lot
an
of ways,
adventure.
and nothing good ever happens, which is the same as The Witcher.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, anyway, for that, we had talked about on the last episode when we ended that we were going to come back and do a Last Guardian spoiler cast. Obviously, if you saw the title of this, that's not what we're talking about. Because the more we thought about it, the more it was just kind of like there's not much to talk about, really. It's one of those games that you really just have to play it. It's
Yeah, it's not interpretive in the same way Final Fantasy is, where it's like I feel like you either love The Last Guardian for its story,
hmm
or the things that are frustrating about it are too much for you to enjoy the other stuff. Like you're
yeah,
just kind of in one of those two camps.
right. But I
So
mean, what it boils down to is the two of us both really, really liked it a lot. I tried going back and playing it again for other people to see, and I just was not into it just because I already
mm,
knew what the story was, and
sure,
the
sure.
controls were still frustrating. So, but I definitely say it's worth a playthrough. Um,
Yeah, agreed.
so
Totally.
there's our spoiler cast. Um,
Ta-da!
so what you did see with our title on this one is we're going to talk about something that isn't PlayStation related at all, except for what its impact on the industry would be, which we think is a viable enough of a reason to dive right into really. I don't even know how you would describe this. It's going to be one of the most interesting potential turning points, I think, in at least for one of the biggest players in the industry's focus
Right.
moving
Yeah, well, I
forward.
think it's either going to lift Nintendo to, Wii levels of fame and money, or it
hmm
will
Right.
sink even further and sell less than the Wii U, which would just be catastrophic.
Yeah. So then obviously what we're talking about is the Nintendo Switch, which is going to be coming out in March, is that I believe?
March 3rd, yeah.
March 3rd. So it's not that far
Right
away.
around the corner. No, that's
hmm
crazy. That's even that's before Mass Effect even. And
Mm.
Mass Effect is like right around the corner.
Gosh.
Can you believe that?
It is. Yeah, no kidding. Because then, well, we got uh, Horizon 2 coming out right around the corner, and then a little after that, Persona 5.
It is. I don't know how this happened. I'm not sure exactly how 2017 is kicking off with such a bang. Yeah,
I
Horizon
think it's just
February 28th.
apologizing for last year as a whole.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Try to give us some good distractions and all that stuff. But anyway, Kyle, you were the one that suggested we talk about this today, so I'll let you lead off the conversation as to why you wanted to
Yeah.
take our podcast episode and dive into Nintendo Switch.
Why I wanted to helm the wheel and steer us into Nintendo waters.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I from the Nintendo Switch's reveal a few months back when we first found out that it was going to be this dockable console that you could take with you and have a true portable console experience, that drew my attention right away because I've always been someone who was attracted to the idea of remote play on PSP and especially PlayStation Vita, but I don't know that it ever materialized into the truly exciting thing that I hoped it would be for a variety of reasons. Initially, for the first year or so of having a PS4, my home router was pretty crap, and that made the remote play experience pretty crappy.
hmm
But then also, once I upgraded that piece of technology, I just found that and in some ways I've been in a little bit of denial over the years, but frankly, I just don't find the PlayStation Vita very comfortable for anything more than like 15, 20 minutes of gameplay. And I've always kind of been like that with Sony handhelds. Like,
Yeah.
I can never, I'm always fidgeting. I can never find just here's where I'm sitting. Like, here's what the way I'm holding it. I'm always adjusting that. I'm always, and Persona 4
I was
was the
gonna
only
say,
game
yeah,
to
that
be,
was like one of the most painful game experiences physically of my life was Persona 4.
and yet I got to give credit to Persona 4 because it's the one game that could just make me forget about that for
Yeah,
like an hour at a time.
yeah,
And then I would be done and be like, oh, Jesus, my fingers.
yeah. It's basically like what it's like for stepping out of a car after like a 6 hour car ride to your knees is
Exactly.
like what
Yes,
your whole
very
body
similar.
experienced when you stopped playing Persona.
No doubt, no doubt. So that was always there, and I was always like, well, I mean, for those reasons and the fact that it is kind of internet dependent, this isn't really the portable PlayStation kind of mecca that I had hoped for. So when I saw the Nintendo Switch, I thought I mean, I can't imagine getting any closer to this. Like you're literally taking the console, which is sort of a dockable tablet, and when you want to leave from your TV and take it on the go, you click it out of its base, and all of the innards, all of the processing components that power the game go with you and just run on battery. So that just the elevator pitch of that was really compelling, and for that reason, I was looking forward to the further reveal of details, which was a Friday night thing this past week.
Mm.
So yeah, the details did come, and what we're faced with, unfortunately, is a rather paltry launch lineup of games, a somewhat bleak looking 2017 of games, and also some would say just a difficult value proposition, I would say. The console itself has a price set at $299, which to me is not unreasonable for a new home console.
No.
I think Nintendo would have done well by themselves to aim just a little lower because unfortunately there is this perception that when you are the weakest of the home consoles in terms of tech, in terms of processing and GPU, you should be priced to reflect that. But that's never been Nintendo's gig. They always kind of price the experience and not the tech.
I mean,
But
still by comparison, it's $300 is still cheaper than Sony's peripheral of being the uh, PlayStation VR. So I mean,
that's true.
a console cheaper, yeah.
At the same time though, you can get a PS4 and an Xbox One for 250 these days. So
Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah.
um, in any case, that's kind of got a split decision, but then it's really the accessories and the things that will ultimately be necessary to enjoy that console, like having one additional controller, like a full, um, the for the uninitiated, the controller for this is essentially two grippable. They're called Joy-Cons, but they go in
Hmm.
each hand, and when you're playing at home, they're just kind of attached to like a central module. But then when you go, you click off those left and right grips and then click them into the console and
Hmm.
sort of take it with you. But buying an additional setup like that, that's what did you say before the cast? $80 for that full additional
For
Joy-Con?
well, if you want an extra set of two Joy Cons, it's $80. This is on their site. If you want a left or right one, presumably in case you break one of them, it's $50 just for one. Uh, there's a charger station for the Joy Cons. That's 30, and yeah, they got a couple other things, but yeah, it's and just for if you want a gamepad, like they're just to replace that entirely, like a basic. It's designed the same way as any gamepad you'll see. A Nintendo Switch Pro controller, that's still $70.
Jeez. Which is, I mean, think about the DualShock that can be regularly had for 45,
Yeah,
maybe even a little less if you find
yeah,
a sale or something.
yeah.
So yeah, so that obviously doesn't do much to sort of stoke the flames of hype. But then, and I have to fully admit this comes from a place of being a PlayStation guy. Like the Nintendo lineup doesn't really appeal to me in the same way as PlayStation exclusives do. But you still look at the launch day lineup, and there's a few more titles than this. I'm only looking at five of them on Nintendo's chart, but Zelda Breath of the Wild is really the marquee title. There's a new
Hmm.
Super Bomberman game, and then it kind of gets sort of paltry from there. There's 1-2 Switch, which is a minigame collection, Skylanders, Just
Yeah.
Dance 2017. I
Well,
mean, these
Skylar's is
aren't
going to have a huge install base just for the families really that have bought the stuff for their kids. Like, Skylanders is, I think gets overlooked how huge that franchise is and how invasive it is among like younger kids and stuff. So they're guaranteed having that as one of their beginning as their launch day games is going to be huge on sales, I think. So
I think it'll at least help buoy it, like it's something where parents can say, all right, why am I buying this console? Well, because it's got Skylanders on it.
yeah,
And
oh
that's something
great,
they've
you can
just
still
seen.
use all of these hundreds of dollars worth of little plastic toys that we bought for you.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, so that said though, I stop myself and I ask, okay, what if I'm disappointed in this, what was I looking for? And I come back to the fact that because I'm not a Nintendo ecosystem guy, it's never going to be the games that sell this system to me. Like as great as Breath of the Wild might be, as great as Super Mario Odyssey might end up being, the killer apps mean nothing to me. It's what is the console doing that's different? And in
mm-hmm.
this case, really fulfilling the promise of a truly portable and yet full-fledged gaming experience, like that is what could have sold me. And with that being said, it might still sell me one day when it's a little cheaper and there are more games, but
Mm-hmm.
but because of what attracted me to it in the first place, I need third-party stuff because that's what it would have been if this had really healthy third-party support. I might have got one just for the ability to take this tablet with me to work or with me home traveling or upstairs to play while I'm getting ready for bed,
Mm-hmm.
Just have that full thing and not have to worry about an internet connection, not have to worry about having a compromised game experience. So as it stands, these games will probably still be great, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario, but that's not going to be enough to really fulfill that promise for me.
Oh sure, yeah, I know. I totally get that but I mean, they've got a lot of the major for Nintendo fans, which is clearly their audience. I don't think Nintendo really cares a lot about converting audiences because they have such a large install base and a faithful fan base that they can be successful off of it.
Yeah.
But then also targeting some of the slightly more casual gamers, those that are using portable phones or iPads and stuff, and showing that hey, we have another portable experience for you to use that can get you some of these people maybe their favorite franchises growing up, or if they played an N64 or things like that. Which I mean, that's majority of the college age or a little older population at this
Yeah,
point.
for sure. Well, that's
So,
another thing that we have a limited window on is virtual console and how Nintendo makes its classic library available to folks. So,
hmm
they have said that they are going to introduce paid online multiplayer with Switch. So you will have to pay a subscription, just like PSN or Xbox Live.
hmm
With that subscription will come one free NES or SNES game per month, but
hmm
you only have access to it for that month and then it goes away.
hmm
You don't get to, it's not like Plus where you can download it and as long as you're a subscriber continue playing it, you just get basically a 30-day rental of whatever classic game Nintendo decides to
So
give you that
they
month.
basically just want you to buy it once the month is over.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah,
They want to hook you in and then have you buy the game to keep playing it, which is
that's gonna
now.
change.
Oh yeah.
It's just going to.
And with the caveat that we don't know the pricing either. I mean, maybe the service will be less per month than PSN, but I kind of
Yeah.
doubt it because why would they?
I
If
mean,
there's
a lot of those games are only a couple bucks to begin with, so it's not like it's. It'd be different if they were making you try like a game that came out a couple of years ago, and then
Mhm.
expecting you to try to buy it for like $40, where
Yeah.
like those games are only going to be $5 at most, maybe 7 or 8. Like,
A- And I could kind of get the argument that like a lot of these classic games, you might not really need to play them for more than 30 days, Like
oh yeah,
I'm not.
most of them you could beat in a day.
Yeah, for sure. So, that said, though, I mean, if they're going to charge for online multiplayer, and I have no false hope about what that'll be. I'm sure it'll have its outages and it'll have its problems, just like the other two services. So, if that's the way they're going, then I'd like to see more of a value proposition. I mean, even Xbox Live has 2 games for gold per month, I think. I'm not super familiar with that service,
hmm
but same with PSN, you get to hold on to those for a spell. So as somebody who I actually do have nostalgia for some of the really old Nintendo games, like Super Mario World on the Super
Hmm.
Nintendo. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned the 64. Like if even just once a month, you could even have it be paltry. You know how PSN has like something from each platform. Maybe it's like once a month you get an N64 game, a Super Nintendo game, and an NES game, and then you actually do get to retain those while you're a subscriber. Man, I would just the novelty of being able to walk around my house with Banjo-Kazooie on this tablet would be so goddamn cool,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
Um, so
Well, I
so
think part of that feeds into we were thinking about it was that my biggest issue with PlayStation Plus games really is that partly now I just forget when it changes,
sure.
and
Yeah.
I don't have any more room to put those games on. So I add them to a download list and then I never see them again. So since this Switch has a 32 gig storage natively, and you'd have to pay to get a micro SD card in it, which you can get one for about 40, like 128 gig one for $40, which isn't, I mean, that'd be easy enough to fix, but still you're really limited in space compared to the other consoles. So
Yeah, at
those
least with the
games files don't
PlayStation.
take up a ton of room, but I could see that easily just like getting completely locked out for you.
No doubt. And
So,
I've read that Zelda takes up because these games do come on cards like many Nintendo titles, and yet,
yep,
from what I understand, they still do have some installed components. And from what I read, Legend of Zelda will take up 40% of that 32 gigabyte that comes with
yeah.
the
Well,
console.
the card or the size of Zelda is just over 13 gigs.
And I
Yeah,
do you have
but
that in
that's on
front
the
of you?
card.
Can you? Okay, so
I
yeah.
mean, that's the information of the game as a whole is 13 gigs,
Well, so then if
13.4.
you have the physical version,
Yeah, if you
maybe
have the
you won't
physical
have
version,
to.
it'll be the same. It's the same uh, type of media as the Vita cards. So, I mean, if you think of how much space is taken up when a Vita installs the basic stuff, it's not going to be that impactful, but it'll add up really quickly if you only have that 32 native storage. So, yeah, the
Yeah, and
13.4 gig download is what it'll be, but on the
gotcha.
file is just going to be that size on a physical copy as well. So,
They're
um,
hedging their bets then. I think that their base doesn't care about switching over to like the digital future or the digital kind of marketplace because otherwise you'd have to upgrade the SD card and that's not bad, $40 for 120 gigs, but it, it it's kind of it's still weird to say that a brand new console in 2017 essentially doesn't have a hard drive. I mean, for all intents and
mhm.
purposes, 32 gigs is just flash
And
memory.
part of it is being
Uh,
used for the system by itself. So,
yeah, good
so
point.
you have less than
Um,
that. But
yes.
there
So
is an
so just
interesting
some
thing.
stumbling blocks.
This was just an interesting comparison just to see. So like the cards that the game cards themselves are a max of 16 gigs for
Hmm.
storage on them, which is the same size as like a single layer of a Blu-ray disc, more or
Huh.
less.
Sure.
That's the same size as what Vita cards were. Like they're still
Interesting.
16 gigs, but the biggest like Vita game made, from what I can tell, was Uncharted Golden Abyss, and that was only 3.5 gigs. So you compare that to something like Zelda, which is already like 4 times that. I mean, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck, and you're getting a lot more game and a lot. They're pushing it a lot farther than Sony ever did. So
No,
you can
certainly.
see that confidence, you can see that backing, you can see that desire to make it successful.
I wonder what the ceiling will be if Zelda is 13 gigs and that's a launch title on a card that only will host 16.
Mm,
What does that do for them down the line? Of course, Zelda being open world is a pretty is
right.
on that end of the extreme, but
Yeah.
again, it does call into question like what does the third party thing look like? Because I'm not saying that the Nintendo Switch will be able to run like Watch Dogs 2, for example. Like I don't know that Ubisoft is even interested in porting that something like that over. But if you look at 2017, 2018, pick a random third party title that you'd like to play on the Switch,
Yeah.
and then it's like, well, all right, CD Projekt Red will have to squeeze Cyberpunk down to be 10 gigs to make it fit, you know?
Yeah, well, I was think there,
Or
yeah, there's going to be some games that think are just they're not even going to be in the conversation to begin with.
Mhm.
I think what we see on the uh, launch line or the 2017 lineup that they have is fairly telling as to what the range is that they can get. I mean, it makes sense. Like I am Setsuna is an obvious choice, and that seems like a. I mean, I'm really digging that already because I never bought it,
Right.
and I wanted it on Vita as a portable platform, but that was only coming out in Japan.
Yeah, that's
So
right. That's right. This is your
that's
chance to make up for
yeah.
that.
So that's really great. I think Street Fighter 2 is just awesome. Having that,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
super
that's one
cool.
that's just been released so many times. But if you have that portable and if you can network play that multiplayer on that while you're portable, that would be awesome for that. But having Minecraft is an obvious choice, which you just kind of expect that. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is that surprised me to see that, but that's to show well that and Steep is the other one that was kind of that really surprises me to see that on
Yeah,
that
it
list. But
surprises me that Steep even fits there. I guess
hmm
I don't know what it takes up on a current console like a PS4, but my whole thing is this. I know from installing it that like Assassin's Creed Syndicate from a year or two ago took up something like I want to say 35, 40 gigabytes.
hmm
So how do we coalesce those two things? You know, like Skyrim can fit probably just by virtue of it being older and it wasn't that big when it came out on PS3 and 360. But you know, going forward, I don't see any way around the fact that this will become another Nintendo situation of you want to play Nintendo games made by Nintendo's geniuses, then the Switch is for you. But beyond
hmm
that, it's just a kind of a barren wasteland.
I think there's going to
So,
be an this. I think this is a good entry level console for this new design that they're going for, and I think we're going to see a major overhaul in maybe a couple of years. And part of that, I think, for the storage issue, like what we're talking about, uh, Samsung is actually releasing SD or like solid state drives that are the size of postage stamps, and it's like on 512 gigs and 256 gigs. They're already mass producing these things, so it's like
essentially, there's a
so that's
chance
more
for
storage
major
than what you
advancement.
get on current home consoles from the beginning. If they had a 512 gigabyte solid state hard drive that's the size of a postage stamp, like all they have to do, even just having a hard drive like that, just for home consoles in general, moving forward, like, and if you move to having more cartridge technology or the cards and moving away from disc, I kind of think that that's where this is going to be going eventually. Like Nintendo just
Yeah,
hasn't left the card system for the most part, apart from
GameCube had the little discs.
GameCube and I think Wii uses discs or
Yeah,
Wii
yeah,
U
that's
and
true.
stuff. They use the discs and stuff, but for the portable sphere, they haven't left that at all, and it just proves that this technology is now catching up to where it's surpassing discs at this point.
It's
It's
sort
getting
of
there.
interesting that you've got this convergence of their two product lines. Like the cartridge thing has been, you know, universal throughout the DS, the 3DS, the new 3DS, and now the Switch, and yet the Switch is kind of coming in with tech specs that put it a bit above the Wii U. So
hmm
I think what we're seeing, and actually to 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 bounce back a little bit, something you said earlier got me thinking. The fact that this is a an intro console in some respects,
hmm
it got me thinking that Nintendo's game here might not be to exist in the same space necessarily as PS4 or Xbox One.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
no.
it will occasionally try to get similar type games just to please adult players. But more than that, I feel like, you know, what's the driving force behind having a tablet as your controller? Is it a play to show young children who are getting tablets in their hands at a much earlier age something that looks familiar to them? Like they're going to see a Switch controller and
hmm
be like, "I know this. This looks just like the iPad that my parents let me play with." I have a deep voice for a 5-year-old, but I think you
yeah.
get the idea that it's like this is increasingly becoming what's familiar to extremely young children.
Hmm.
And so is this more like future proofing? Like let's have a console that looks like the tablet that they're already using on a daily basis to try to bring them into gaming and sort of lock them into Nintendo at an early age.
Yeah, I mean, I would think
Um,
so because yeah, it's like that's. I think that it hits the nail on the head in a lot of ways, where it's just like where we grew up with game pads and stuff for any system because that was all that there was. Lots of kids nowadays get frustrated using regular HD TVs because they keep trying to push the screen to make it do stuff and it doesn't. Like
right.
it's just like that's how life works is that things react to where you touch on the display. That's
Hmm.
that's how it is in their head. So if you have that as your starting game console, and that's why iPads are yeah, like iPads are so successful for that where it's very intuitive for learning at a young age and stuff. So I mean that's I think future proofing is a great way to put that where it's but and again for the jumping back to the cards, where they're using the game cards and stuff, obviously discs are just terrible for portability. Like
Yes,
so
true.
that's they were kind of forced into using the cards, but they're making this commitment at a good time for where the technology is going and how much it's advancing. Where it's starting now to be surpass. I think technologically it's surpassing discs, but commercially it hasn't reached that point yet where it's easily available
And
and
really,
cost
Nintendo
effective.
could be the
So
driver of that.
yeah.
Just people, software or hardware companies like Samsung and the others could see if this does become just a surprising breakout success. And I do see the potential there. I mean, like you've got literally parents in stores going, "All right, time to buy my kids video games because they're 6 years old or 7 year old. Oh, hey, this looks really familiar." But
Hmm.
when we see the market, like, oh, the Switch is actually a success, that starts to push folks like Samsung, folks like HP to invest more in that small
Hmm.
portable technology because they want to be the provider for the next Nintendo console.
Yeah.
We want to be the hard drive that they choose for the successor.
Yeah, and I really just want them to prove that this is where consoles are going to be going because just think about the space that a disk drive takes up now in consoles. That's pretty much at least a quarter of the space.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you remove that and make it just cards, like think of how much more streamlined game consoles will be able to be in the next
Man, you
5, 10 years.
you could eventually have. I mean, yeah, eventually, like 10 years from now, we might start approaching like PlayStation TV levels of
Yeah, it'd be like
smallness.
the size of a phone.
Which would just be sick because again, the portability thing that would be huge. Whether you have to, I mean,
Hmm.
even if here's the thing, I would love for Sony to just basically steal this idea.
Yeah.
Like have the PlayStation 5 or some next iteration of PS4 have this kind of removable tablet. And I mean, obviously, it's going to be blatantly clear who they're stealing it from if they do.
Hmm.
And yet, that the promise of that is just so great. Or even if it did, even if we did eventually reach a form factor that's something like the PlayStation TV, maybe not quite that small, and yet anything that's easier for me to move from room to room or from city to city on the go
Hmm.
would be just huge. Or play something on the go. It'd be
Yeah.
nice if you could have, man, something like. How would you do it? Because I wouldn't want to give up that DualShock experience, like having that
Yeah,
familiar
like I
controller.
honestly think that Sony's just I don't think that they're interested in portable consoles and I think they just should stay away from it. Like that's it's not their wheelhouse. They don't put the commitment behind it that they need to. They've proven that they don't want to. And it's just the PS Vita or the PSP was at a perfect point in time for their specifically for the Japan market. But it's just not something that they should be doing. I think they should take advantage of the console or take advantage of the technology that will result from Nintendo's push in this field for using cards and forcing the industry to pay attention that hey, this is where games are going to be going from a
Hmm.
development standpoint and how that we're going to like Samsung and HP like you're saying are going to invest in making those media cards have more storage capability and be able to run more easily. So I think they should just make more streamlined home consoles that will focus on, because the problem is if they put their time into the portable sphere, it's not allowing them to like this game is or the Switch has resigned itself to not being able to play half the games that are going to be coming out essentially, or half the games that people are looking for.
So that's a competitive element where really the only competitor to Sony in the home console space is Xbox, and
Yeah.
they've been trouncing Xbox for the last 3 years. And so, yeah, I could
Hmm.
see a future where if Sony continues to innovate, make smaller consoles, make more convenient VR headsets, just keep improving that sort of traditional blockbuster gaming
Yeah.
experience. I mean, you could have a world 5, 10 years from now where we're back to the late 90s, where it really is just two players,
Hmm.
Sony and Nintendo, but then they've each monopolized their own market, kind of like the mafia.
Yeah.
Like what you want a blockbuster home gaming, you go with PlayStation. You want something that's charming, that's portable, that's unique. That's where Nintendo's at, and
Yeah.
they don't have to necessarily go at each other's throats to both
Yeah.
succeed.
I think Nintendo is just realizing that their their home is in the portable world. Like that's just what they're good at. That's what they kick everyone else's ass at. And it's
Hmm.
and they're making it an option where sometimes you want to share the games that you're playing, or sometimes you don't want to necessarily sit with your head hunched over sitting on a chair or something holding this console like really close
Sure.
in your hands, or they're giving you flexibility to play it in multiple ways, but the focus is that it can be played on the go.
I mean, maybe that's the ultimate way of looking at this, that the Switch is the new handheld Nintendo console that
Hmm.
comes with a TV dock, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty much how I see it for the most
Yeah.
part, because they're not pushing it to be a contender as a home console. They're just not, and if they are, then their game plan is wrong, in my opinion, because it just can't compete on that level. But Sony should just learn from, and they are, of course, obviously they're paying attention, they're going to, but just learning about the reaction and how it goes forward, potentially removing a disk drive, I think would be huge. And then you don't have all of those read errors. You don't have to worry about scratched discs. I mean, the cards are more durable in general.
Yeah, cards
There's,
would load faster too,
yeah,
right?
they'd load faster. They'd be smaller. There's a lot less chance for things to mechanically go wrong.
Hmm.
You don't have to worry about stupid eject button errors where your game disc keeps spitting itself out as you're playing, which happened to me like 3 times.
Cheaper to manufacture the console too. You don't have
Yep.
to package a Blu-ray drive in
Right.
every one.
Yeah. I mean that would be a drawback for some people, but I mean
Yeah, some
I
people want it
honestly
for movies.
I've used a Blu-ray on mine like twice.
A Blu-ray movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And it's
don't know
just,
that I ever have.
yeah, and it's I mean so many computers nowadays have oh, that's even the thing too is like laptops don't even come with disk drives anymore.
Right. I
So
mean,
it's
my desktop that I built does not have a disk drive because I just thought, well, I mean, I never do this. If I'm ever gonna watch a 1080p or a 4K movie, it's gonna be on Netflix, so
yeah.
or I'll
So
get it from iTunes or something.
yeah. So I think it's just going to be I think Sony should just not I don't think they are going to care. Their main focus right now is VR on top of a solid home console. But
Man, I
that
did not expect to like go into this conversation and sort of build a more positive impression of the Switch as I went along. The more I think about it with you and talk
oh
about
yeah.
it, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, this is like I kind of get what Nintendo's trying to do right now, and I
Hmm.
appreciate that. And so if I ever find myself in the market for a new handheld console because I want to amplify that portable aspect of my life, like the choice is kind of obvious. I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
be the Switch because, well, in some ways it's the only thing, but I guess viewed from that lens, I sort of appreciate
Right.
their strategic decisions a little more than I
Yeah,
did.
I mean, that's what I saw when I looked at this. Is that wow? Like after watching the trailer for Breath of the Wild, it was like that looks amazing. You could have a full RPG experience wherever you are. That's open world and 3 dimensional, and not as worldly constrictive as Persona, which
Hmm.
that's just a very different type of game. But I mean, that's in the same right for that. Then you have I Am Setsuna, which on the portable sphere in the U.S., I believe it'd be coming to the U.S. since it's written in English on their lineup, which would
Am
be
I
awesome. Mario Kart
Yeah,
that you can
that's
play wherever if you're just yeah, it's just like there's so many things that the flexibility of this for the games that they're deciding on really sensible and sought after games to put on
the,
this console. There may not
the
be as many as people would hope for, but I don't think that's going to be a problem in a couple of years.
the notion of local play is kind of exciting too, because I just thought about, well, if you have two people who have Nintendo Switches like you and I,
Yeah.
you would take those in and just have LAN play with Mario Kart 8, and it's just
Hmm.
wireless, like you're sitting on two couches or whatever.
Right.
And I just thought like it's not announced for the system yet, and I don't know if it ever will be ported, but if you were to tell me right now that Persona 5 was coming out day and date on the Switch as well as the others,
Hmm.
man, like that's really, really tempting because the
Yeah.
portable aspect of Persona was so key to Persona 4 Golden, and part of the reason
Right.
I probably fell in love with it is just that I felt like I could take it with me anywhere. It's like, yeah, like I might be tempted to get that for the Switch instead of PS4, and that's crazy to think.
Hmm. Yeah, and that would be a perfect game, I think, for that. Where even if they do have to downscale some of the settings on it, you're not going to notice it that much just by nature of the design of the game, the style of the game.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like I mean, that's really what Nintendo's always relied on is that the cartoonier the better, because that's just their thing that they do really well. But then it also lets them not push as far with the hardware to stress us. I mean, like you think of since we're both kind of went back into it, like there's no way that something like The Witcher would ever work on a portable system.
Hmm.
It just wouldn't unless that system costs like $2,000 if you wanted to play it at the same level of resolution and fidelity and all that stuff. So I think it's just Nintendo Switches. It's you can't to me you can't see it as a home console because it's not. It's just this portable console that can be used at home. So
And which
it's
is
just an advanced 3DS is kind of where I'm seeing it. Like it's the next step in the 3DS, not uh the
the
next Wii
next Wii
U.
U.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And I think what's so powerful about having the home dock is that the biggest problem that you and I expressed about Vita and the fact that it just isn't comfortable. And nor, I mean, even the most well-designed portable console isn't comfortable to sort of like lean down and stare at it and hunch over for a long stretch of time. It's that generally you will be at home playing it, and
Hmm.
now you don't have to like hunch over it on your couch. You can just have it on your TV like 80% of the time. But then on the rare occasion you need to go somewhere, you've got a great way of playing it. You've got the same joysticks, the same buttons, the same triggers. It's just as close to the home experience as it could feel.
Yeah. So there was one other thing I remember. So we were talking about it being a portable game. How long is the you had a you do or you did have a 3DS?
I do have
Or
a 3DS, yeah.
how long's the battery life on those?
It generally wasn't great. I think a little better than the Vita used to be, the launch Vita anyway, because
Yeah.
that OLED screen. But I recall it, I don't know, when I was playing Kingdom Hearts, it was probably good 4 or 5 hours.
Okay. So
So
then
pretty decent.
this for this system, according to at least the specifications that it has on the GameStop page,
Yeah.
it says the battery life can last for more than 6 hours, but that depends on what you're doing. So basically, it's the same as like a laptop. If you're not doing anything on your laptop, the battery life's going to be a lot better than if you're running something on it pretty heavily. So
I
Legend of
read that,
Zelda is going to
yeah, you
be
got it.
roughly 3 hours on a single charge, it said.
Which
Which,
is fine. I mean, that's like if I think back to PSP, I remember the early PSP launch titles had pretty abysmal battery life, and I think 2.5, 3 hours was about the expectation there. And I can't really picture myself like whenever I take it with me portably, it's
hmm.
going to be fully charged the moment I start playing it. That's just how I'll do it.
Yep.
And then because if it comes out of the dock, it's already fully charged.
Hmm.
And then I mean, really, it's like, yeah, on a plane, take that as like the longest stretch of time where you're indisposed.
Hmm.
You will, yeah, 3 hours is plenty. I mean, it might not cover your entire trip, but then some planes even have charging outlets.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the thing that I think is really smart that they did for this and just makes sense because that's where everything's going anyway, is that the AC adapter that plugs into the Switch has a USB connector on the other end.
ooh,
So
nice.
you can
That's
use that
good.
for any of your portable batteries and stuff like that that
Oh, you
people
could
buy for
charge it in the
phones and
car,
stuff. Yeah, you can
Yeah, you
charge it
can
in the
stick it
car. You
in.
can like a lot of planes, like you said, they have USB ports now built into the seats. Um,
You could leach energy from your laptop in a
right,
pinch if you really
lots of
need to.
coffee shop outlets and stuff are
Yep.
updating to having, yeah. So it's like having it be USB, even if you have a laptop that's on full charge and you're not using your laptop, plug it into there and you're getting the better life out of it. So there's
God,
a lot more flexibility with it.
here I am, just like I'm not seriously contemplating it because I'm not really ready to spend $300 next or in March, but
Mhm.
I am kind of going, man, like for what it is, like that kind of 2017 portable like traveling lifestyle experience. It's got the USB charger that a phone would you would expect to have. It's got
Mhm.
a docking station for more comfortable playing at home. It really it's well considered, it seems. So I think
Yeah.
the test for me now will be once it comes out, once there are impressions online and stuff, I want to know like how smooth is the local play experience? Like, is it literally just easy as two people sitting down with their own tablets and boom, we're playing Mario Kart? You know, is that
Yeah.
seamless?
This is it is
Is
going
that
to have
simple?
up to 8 systems can connect over a local wireless connection in
So they'll all
compatible
be
multiplayer games. While docked, you can use a wired internet connection. So,
sure, makes sense.
but yeah, it sounds like all you have to do is just show up, sit next to each other, and make a local wireless connection and just be able to play. So, I mean, that's why I'm not worried about this system. Not that I really have been invested in Nintendo much, but I don't see this system failing or anything like that because this is Nintendo's full forces behind this system. This is their next system, whether however you want to look at it. If it's going to be, if you're thinking it's going to be the next Wii or the next 3DS, this is what their project is. It's not an
Right.
extra thing in addition to something else they got lined up. Or at least that's what we see right now. So it's
And they won't have a Wii U team and a 3DS team. It's just this is Nintendo standing behind a product.
yeah.
And yeah, if that, I mean, yeah, and they don't have something to buoy their success, you know? They don't have like, hey, if the Wii U fails, that's fine because 3DS is selling like hotcakes. Like
Hmm.
this is just kind of all their eggs are in this basket. So, yeah, I think the messaging is important though. I think you know, to some extent when people start to see Nintendo Switches out in the wild, I think they'll get it. Like when you're at a Starbucks and you see somebody just pop it into a USB port, they'll have the same realization we're having, which is that, oh, this thing is more convenient and more well considered than I thought.
Hmm.
And it'll kind of spread that way, but I do think that marketing is key here because I think part of where the negativity is coming from is that it's just we have viewed it as the follow up to their home console. Like this is the Wii U follow up, and when you view it from that lens, it's not really much more powerful. I mean, Zelda Breath of the Wild is also launching on Wii
Yeah.
U.
It more or less looks like a step back compared to where PS4 and Xbox are going.
Yeah, so that's key is to fight against that and be like really play up the portability, like in you know TV commercials and trailers and stuff emphasize the people playing in the room together. You know, you're playing. I don't even know if Fire Emblem has multiplayer, but you're playing Fire Emblem in the same living room, right? Or you're playing Mario Kart
Hmm.
together on the airplane, something like that, to just kind of fight that stuck static console vibe where this is just going to sit under your TV forever.
Yeah. And I just think I think it'll be better for the industry as a whole if Nintendo did position themselves as we are the portable gaming company.
Mm.
I think they're gonna because they're clearly they've been struggling from where they were. Not that they're like in the red or anything like that by any means, but they can't. They're not able to compete with the games that they want to make in that same sphere as the home console. So I think this is going to be. I personally think this is going to be a really great product for them, and it's going to do really well because, like I said, like we talked about, their whole team is behind this. The whole
So
company is behind this.
for you personally,
Hmm.
you know, what's the point at which you say it's worth it to buy one? Is it just wait till the lineup gets a little better? Is it wait till the price drops a little bit? Because for me, it's kind of a combination of those two things.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I don't know if there's anything that I would ever that would make me want to fully buy it just because I don't my priorities are elsewhere
Yeah,
for
yeah, it's
that amount of money and not even necessarily for games, it just in general. I'm even not worried about spending much on PlayStation stuff at the moment. So it's just kind of.
Mhm.
I think the lineup is really strong. I don't think there's anything to be worried about if you're excited about having a port. I mean, I think the system is going to be. It's going to deliver everything that it is promising, more or less, from what I can tell. I think
Right.
Zelda is going to be a really, really strong. Like that's clearly its prized launch day game, and probably going to be the potentially could be its best game of the whole year.
I
Um,
mean, it's going to be in the conversation, I think, game of the year stuff, even though it's coming out super early.
right? Yeah. So it's.
Yeah,
I'd say I mean usually for me I always wait kind of more or less for after the first year has gone by on any console just to see
Mhm.
how it goes, just so that there's stuff that I just so that there's games that I want to play that I can play when I get it
Yeah, for
and have
sure.
other things to reach for. But I mean, having Zelda on there, let's see, oh, it's holiday. Oh, well, still I Am Setsuna in March. April's got Mario Kart. Yeah, I mean, there's. It looks like to me for an average gamer who's going to be casual. I mean, Mario Kart. Some people buy Nintendo games just for Mario Kart alone, and they play that all year long. So it's
That is
just like
true.
if you got Zelda, that's a really meaty RPG. Then you got I Am Setsuna, which is another pretty meaty RPG. Mario Kart is going to take up a lot of time. Splatoon 2, I think a lot of people enjoyed the first one for the most part. I don't know what they're improving on for this one, but fall you get Skyrim, holiday you get Mario. So yeah, it's just
The hallmarks are all there for what Nintendo fans
yeah,
would want, I think. I mean, it's missing some keys, some older franchises like Metroid and F-Zero and Super Smash Brothers as well
yeah. Well, I'm
is
sure
nowhere to
those
be
are going to
seen
be
for
on the
now.
way. Yeah, they're those are still probably being worked on because
I'm kind of
so
with you on the value proposition, though. I mean, even now I'm thinking, well, that, $300, that is a lot for what this is at this
mhm.
current lineup, and it's like, my desktop processor
Yeah.
is
And
kind of
the games
taking,
are still $60 a piece too.
yeah, which is not an easy sell. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely something that's a ways off if I were to ever get one, and it would just have to be this slow cascade of games that make it hard to resist. Like
Hmm.
if you were to eventually say like, "Hey, man, if this turned into a major RPG console, like you've just got tons of games like Setsuna and Xenoblade, maybe Persona gets ported at some point, Shin
Oh
Megami
yeah.
Tensei starts getting some releases, like once there's a certain threshold at which all right you now have like 10 RPGs that I want to play and the system is
Hmm.
down to 199. I think that's when it sort of becomes sort of an impulse or a holiday buy for me.
Yeah, I mean, if Persona 5 was coming out towards the holidays, which I hope to God it doesn't get delayed anymore, but if it was coming out on the holidays and it was going to be coming out on something like this, I would have to seriously consider it. Like,
Yeah, it's just where do you want to spend that 90 hours, or
yeah.
the 150 hours if you go for the platinum.
Hmm. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty promising system. I think it'll do well to cultivate a lot healthier environment among all three major companies between Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. Um, and I think that this is a great way for Sony to learn from Nintendo for how this is going to play out, how people react to it, if this is what the other industries in the digital world
Mm.
see from this, and if they push for furthering the technology and making it more affordable more quickly and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. We've talked about we went a lot of different ways on this. I wasn't expecting to. I thought we were going to throw in a lot more Sony stuff just because, but
No, man, this
yeah,
is Nintendo fix.
yeah, Nintendo fix.
What have we done?
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, it's I can't
Well, yeah, like I
imagine.
said, it's
I don't think Sony should make another portable system. Honestly, at least for the next several years. There's no reason to, and I don't think they have any interest in doing that with PlayStation Move or PlayStation VR.
yeah. My only takeaway from that is if the next PlayStation console was kind of the flip scenario of this, where it's designed as a home console first with the tech specs to match, but
Hmm.
because of technological advancement, you're able to squeeze that into a like a removable pad of some kind.
Hmm.
I love the same like as long as it was comfortable, right? As long as it was comfortable to hold, it was ergonomic and everything. I if you could do it without making compromises to like, we need Uncharted 5 to look as good as it should, so we are focused on that first. And if we can make it
Hmm.
removable or portable in some way, that's great, but not at the expense of the other stuff. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess I would love it. Like it'd be a perfect world, like hybrid scenario. But I'm also okay with the notion that these two companies eventually come to dominate the space, like so in the '90s, and have their own niches that sort of box out everyone else.
Yep. All right. Well, any other final thoughts? I think we covered pretty much everything on that.
No, no final thoughts. It would just, man, it'd be great to play The Witcher on that. That's all.
Jeez. Yeah. So yeah. How far did you get on that so far?
I
You're,
am. Well, I'm still in Skellige, so I've been floating around there. I haven't. I'm just doing massive, massive side quests on Skellige, same as I did on Velen. So I'm up to like 85 hours,
all
and
right.
the story is slowly but surely inching along. So
There you go. All right. Well, I guess it's a good thing that Persona 5 isn't coming out on this then, because it'll give you more time to focus on The Witcher.
well, I got other stuff in between though, man. Mass Effect,
Oh, that's
Horizon.
true.
How do I can't shy away from those.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
man,
guess so. I think this is gonna be a great year for games. Another good one. I can't wait for the E3 lineup. See what gets revealed there, but
yeah, stuff that where it's like, hey, we're starting to get the first glimpses of, okay, here's the second half of this
yeah.
generation now.
And I think that's going to be really interesting to see Nintendo if they do Nintendo Direct again or whatever with the at E3. I'm assuming that's what they would do, but with the Switch to see what other major things they get if they get a lot more third party support. I don't know if they necessarily need third party support. Like a strong backing for that. I think they can hold their own pretty well with their own owned IPs.
Yeah, as a company, they probably don't. I mean, you look at something like the 3DS, and that's so
Hmm.
first party heavy, and yet the 3DS is sold so well because there is a market for handheld. I mean, for a guy like me, I want to
Oh,
see party, but
what if a Kingdom Hearts game came out on this, only on this?
I can't even imagine what that would be though. Like, well, here's the
Well,
thing,
I mean,
right?
they did
So,
Dream Drop Distance. I mean, imagine. So, what if? Would that be
if
enough to
they,
push you over?
um, well, so I'm trying to remove real world knowledge from this, but the fact of the matter
Yep.
is, like, there is the complete Kingdom Hearts collection coming out on PS4 later this year, like
Hmm.
every game on PS4.
Hmm.
So you'll be able to play the entire series there. And then Kingdom Hearts 3 is already announced for PS4 and Xbox One. So I guess looking if man, if there's a Kingdom Hearts 3 spin-off, which why am I saying if? Of course there will be.
Yep.
That was Switch exclusive.
Hmm.
I mean, by then the Switch will be cheaper. So yeah, maybe. I mean,
All right.
it's rough, dude.
So
But
we
here's the
found the
thing, right?
turning
If
point.
they came out and said this Kingdom Hearts collection, it's coming out this summer or something like that,
Hmm.
is also coming out on Switch, like every game portable, and you've got the dual analog sticks, right? I mean, you're missing a couple triggers, which isn't a huge deal for Kingdom Hearts, but there might be some control
Hmm.
compromises they have to make. Let's just say I'd think about it. Let's just say it would grab my attention. All
All
right,
right.
no, no more than that.
So we found the potential turning point for buying the Nintendo Switch for Kyle Prawl. So good place
What
to
if
end it on.
FF14 released on the Switch?
Oh, I wouldn't care.
I would care.
I well,
I
you'd
I'd take
need a
that every day.
solid internet connection every single place that you went to.
That's true. That's true.
So that's nah. That would be too much of a hassle.
A little more powerful for single player. That's true.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap this one up. So this has been episode 49 of Nintendo Fix. I mean PlayStation Fix. Uh,
Thought that was an honest mistake. Everyone's
no, it
just like, no,
wasn't. Yeah. Okay.
Will, we're still PlayStation.
Yeah. So did something a little different this week, but we thought it was a worthwhile topic to talk about. And I think it's going to be a really good thing to see how it evolves over the next couple of years and see where the industry focuses, align, and all that stuff. So, thanks for joining me and bringing this topic to the table this week, Kyle.
You got it, man. That's what I do.
Yeah. So be sure to go to psu.com for all your PlayStation news out there. You can follow PlayStation Fix on iTunes and SoundCloud. Leave some reviews for us and let us know what you think. You can also find us on uh, YouTube at PSU2. We put all the podcasts up on there as well. Same with other video content that we put up from PSU. You can also follow PSU on Twitter at PSUDOTCOM, so PSU.com, all spelled out. And yeah, this has been episode 49. We got a big number of episode 50 next week.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's going to be a big milestone for us, so.
Come with your best topic.
Oh, God. No, we'll have to think about it, so. All right, thanks, guys, for listening to this, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.